The quadratic equations kind of come in several different little groups, and depending on what their roots are, some are a little easier to deal with than others. So probably the easiest to start with are ones that have nice whole numbered roots. So let's take a look at what one might look like. Let's say we could have one that had roots of -2 and +3. So its parabola would look like that. Once again, the roots are where the parabola or the function is equal to 0. The parabola crosses the x-axis. So in this case, it's at -2 and +3. So the roots of this quadratic equation we're going to talk about are equal to -2 and 3. Now, to get its factors, once we know its roots, is actually fairly simple. Remember that in the factors, if one of them is 0, then the entire product is going to be 0. So, for example, one of these roots is -2. So what would I have to add to -2 to turn it into 0? +2. And the other factor is +3. What would I have to add to it to turn it to 0? -3. So in our factors then, the two numbers that are going to go in there are going to be the exact opposites of the roots. I'm going to replace these with x's. So if I put my -2 root in here, it turns into 0. Everything's 0. I put in my +3. This factor turns into 0. So now the entire expression is 0. Now the next thing is to actually multiply these out and get our quadratic equation. Now, the easiest way to do that, I feel, is to first take my factors and we're just going to use the distributive property twice. First, I'm going to forget about this +2 here, and I'm just going to multiply by x. So I'm doing same thing as with the distributive property, x times this x minus 3. So I get x squared minus 3x. Okay, now I'm going to forget about the x and multiply by the 2. So I'm doing 2 times x minus 3. So I get 2x minus 6. So once I've done that, I now have to just combine all my like terms in these two expressions that I got. So I've got 1x squared here. I've got -3x and +2x, so that's minus 1x. And then I've got this -6. So my function, once I multiply it out with my two factors, my quadratic equation is x squared minus x minus 6. So there's my 4 different elements. I've got my roots, my factors, my quadratic equation, and my graph. So I started with the graph, got the other 3.